just earlier we were talking about junk and its influence back in the mid-90s. Would you have described it as a radical book?
Well, it was perceived as being very radical at the time. There was a lot of news about it and a lot of angsting about, you know, youth and innocence and all that kind of stuff. I think what was different about it was that it was a proper book for teenagers. You know, at that point, most of the stuff that was called teenage fiction wasn't really. It was for younger readers. So something that was genuinely aimed at people actually in their teen years, and sort of winning children's book prizes. Everyone was saying, "Oh my God, you know, it used to be, you know, Wind in the Willows and Ratty, and now it's sort of Junkie Whores. What's going on?" But of course, it was a book for teenagers, so you know, it was radical in that sense. And there was also a lot of angsting in the press about, you know, whether you should inform people of that age about, you know, it's about drugs, so about that culture, or whether you should protect them from it. And although I think in real life people who deal with young people know that they need enabling and empowering rather than protecting, it was an issue at the time. It was a point that was being discussed at the time, particularly in the tabloid press.
And I guess the term Wind of the Willows, your books are very far from Wind of the Willows, aren't they? How do you feel they reach out to young people?
Well, I think like Melvin, I'm just trying to write things that children will feel are real, in a sense. I think what we need we need a balance, and we need books that do both. And what I'm trying to do is sort of write the books that I'd love to have read as a teenager. And so the things like, as a teenager I didn't believe in happily ever after, and that's not to say that my books are, no, I want to say the world is just all doom and gloom. I certainly don't believe that. I wouldn't write that, but at the same time I want to try and be honest and show and hold the mirror up to the world and say, well, this is kind of this is how these people live in this particular world or whatever. And so and just kind of have increase the sort of variety of books and the diversity of books that we have available to teenagers.
Because, you know, we're here filming, this will be on YouTube, and I'll tell people the film's up on Twitter and Facebook. Is that part of the problem, or how do you think teenagers do sit down and read books given the proper material?
Oh, absolutely. I think teenagers want a good story. I think, like everybody, you want to be told a good story, in whatever form, whether it's films or whatever. But I think if you present teenagers with books they want to read, they will read them. But I think when people talk about, oh, well, children aren't reading enough and so forth, then I think, actually, are you writing books or publishing books that they want to read, that are addressing the concerns and issues that they have today? It's not the books that kind of we like, the classics, etc., were fine maybe for our time, and yes, they're still, so that's why they're called classics, because they will endure. But at the same time, I think there needs to be more emphasis on the books that are out now, that are talking to children now with their different concerns.
And finally, a day like today, what do you get out? What are you hoping to get out of a day like today?
Well, one thing that you get out of it is that you spend a lot of time as a writer sitting at home on your own, staring at a computer screen, so it's kind of nice to get out and meet people. So you get a lot of that. You know, it's also nice to present your work and to have a young audience listen to you. And, you know, I suppose there is a sense that you can kind of gauge whether you're connecting. So there's always that.
And yourself, what do you get out of a day like today?
I think the same as Melvin. It's about kind of meeting people and seeing what concerns them and what kind of questions they have and what they're interested in, and talking about what made you become a writer. And you know, and sort of for me, it's also saying, well, okay, you know, I'm a writer and I'm not all that. So you know, if you want to be a writer, then you know, go for it. Or if you want to do anything, just go for it. And so it is about saying, when I was at school, we never had authors in, and so writing was never a consideration as far as a career is concerned for me until I hit my sort of mid-20s. So I just want to say, well, if this is what you want to do, go for it.
My name's Melvin Burgess. I write novels and sometimes a bit of TV and stuff for teenagers. And the way it came about, I suppose, anyone here like writing? I guess there's quite a lot of talent here. Yeah? If you passed that exam, that meant you had a brain, and you went to grammar school, and you sort of did your GCSEs or whatever they were then, and you were going to become a professional person, a teacher or a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. But if you failed your 11+, then that meant you didn't have a brain.
and you went to secondary modern school and you were going to, I don't know, do something manual or something like that, you were going to, you know, you were stupid, basically. You were stupid. Well, I was one of the stupid ones. I failed my 11 plus. I remember my dad, that's the difference between an amateur pianist and a concert pianist. Anyone know? The answer is 5,000 hours. Practice. You've got to practice. If you keep at it though, you get there. So there you go. Just keep at it. Right, this said to me, wonderful, Melvin, teenage fiction. They don't read. They're too busy in their rooms, doing whatever it is they do in their rooms. I don't know what it is they do in their rooms, and I don't want to know, but I know that they don't read. But he published it anyway, and teenage fiction. I was really surprised. When I was a kid, there was no such thing as teenage fiction. No one had ever heard of it, and I was rather surprised. And I published a number of books after that, which were called teenage fiction. And then after that, I started getting invited into schools and libraries, and I found myself speaking to people who were maybe 13, maybe 14, but by and large sort of 11 and 12. And it began to dawn on me that actually what was going on was that, you know, people wrote for that sort of age, but nobody really wrote for people who were sort of 14 and 15 and 16. Nobody wrote for them. It was like a sort of blank area. And when you think about it, you know, people are very anxious about teenagers, you know. I mean, I think a very good example is the system of censorship we have experimented with drugs. He said his son was coming home 2 in the morning, giggling, going to the fridge, eating everything in the fridge, didn't smell of alcohol, going up into the toilet, giggling there. What's he got to laugh about in the toilet? So I wrote this book, but I wanted to set it in a real place, so I set it in Bristol, where I lived for 8 years. I based it on people that I knew. It was set during the kind of punk era, all the politics, all the music, all the friends. So it's not a morality tale. It's about that culture, and it's about real people making real decisions. Not always good decisions, but real decisions. It's easy, it's cheap, and it gets your point across beautifully. Only, it's not easy, is it? It isn't as though you could just go to a shop and get a handbook on how to run away from home. Well, now you can, because here it is. This is what you've all been waiting for. Gemma Brogan's Practical Handbook to Running Away from Home. A step-by-step guide for radical malcontents. 1. You will need clothes, woolly vest, long underwear, plenty of keep warm stuff, a waterproof coat, a sleeping bag, a pencil and paper, your dad's bank card and PIN number. 2. Your wits. You're going to need them. 3. Think about it. What are your mum and dad going to do? Try and get you back, of course. It'll be police. It'll be, oh my God, my little girl has been abducted. It'll be, maybe some dreadful pervert is at her right now. Maybe she's lying murdered in a bin liner in the town rubbish tip this very second. So this is where the pencil and paper comes in handy. You write them a note, explaining them you're going away, they can expect to see very little of you in the immediate future, wish them luck, tell them no hard feelings, goodbye. 5. Book your coach ticket using your father's Visa card. 6. Take the money and run. When you arrive, you send them a note explaining what's happened. And that way, when they ask the police to help them get their property back, the police say, 2 woolly vests she's got on. Has she got a sleeping bag, really? Because you see, while the police might care a whole load about you if you're dead, they're not going to spend a penny more than they have on you if they know that you're still alive.